Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Lyly Ledbetter, as you know, because you're part of this group, but you may not know the beautiful Tiffany Ryman, and I'm about to tell you a little bit about her. But first, do me a big favor. If you are jumping on live with us, please give me a hashtag live in the comments below. And if you're catching the replay, give me a hashtag replay. Tell us where you're watching from, where you're tuning in from. We want to hear. And as we're talking, I would love for you to engage, give us some hearts, give us some love. But if there's anything that speaks to you, type it out. Tell us what's the thing that is speaking to you. How can we help you? How can we serve you? So with that being said, I want to introduce you to Tiffany. And Tiffany is, I'm just going to say it in my own words, but she is an incredible woman of God. I love her so much. She is one of my dear friends. I've really enjoyed growing in friendship with her over the last couple of years. And she is also just brilliant. She's not only a worship leader and a wife and a mama to four children, because four that's almost a handful. But she is also a mompreneur. She's an entrepreneur just like myself, and she also felt led to get further educated and get a certification as a natural health, what was the title? Certified natural health professional. That's what it is. So with all that being said, Tiff, I would love for you to jump in and just tell people a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so a little bit about myself, Lily. First off, I just love you so very much. I'm so thankful that this invitation and the way that God has used entrepreneurship and the internet to bring us together has been one of the greatest gifts of my life. And so I just wanted to say that publicly in front of your people, how much you mean to me, and I love you. And so being here in this room with you and all these people that are so important to you just means the world to me. So thank you for that
Absolutely.
opportunity. Um, a little bit about me. I live in Zephyr Hills, Florida. I married my high school sweetheart, even though it was rival schools. We call it the 9 Mile War between Pasco Pirates and Zephyr Hills Bulldogs. I will never wear the colors of orange and black. It's never going to happen. But Christian and I, we've been together since we were 16. And so he has seen me in the prime of my life where I was extremely athletic, softball player, also a cheerleader, and got married when we were 20 years old. We've been together a long time. We celebrated last November 15 years of marriage. And we've been together for 20 years. So we've been together longer than we have not for our lifetime, right?
That's
Um,
awesome.
it it's been quite a journey with him. He's certainly my favorite person, and we've got, four wonderful and beautiful kids, but he has literally, when we took those marriage vows, for better, for worse, sick, poor, all the things, sick and in health and all of it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that we've been through all of those except, for,
For the
obviously
last one.
except for the last one, which
Yeah.
we're thankful that we didn't hit that road, but yeah, he's literally had to walk through the healing journey with me. So it's been through the thick and it's been through the thin. And I've walked through seasons of difficulty with Christian as well, but I'm thankful for where we are right now. We've been in a beautiful season with our family. We've been homeschooling for the last 2 years. So we've been in very close proximity with these children. Um, and Christian and I are both entrepreneurs. So he is, ministering inside of the home. He's a songwriter, a psalmist. He's doing a little bit of travel. And I primarily work online and serve people also in their health. And that's where my biggest passion lies outside of what we do as a couple as worship ministers, is to be able to serve people on an individual level and really get to the root cause of what is going on in their lives and how in the world they can get some health back. I don't know about you, but the most important thing to me in my journey, and I'll share that in a bit with everybody as you allow that, but there's nothing worse than not feeling well. Like we become so internal when we are sick and we don't feel well. And a lot of us are walking in life on a day-to-day basis, not living an optimal life. We're living so below what God actually wants for us and our energy and our vitality. And I didn't discover how unwell I was until I was extremely unwell. And then I realized something's not right here. And so, um, yeah, I'm just really happy to be able to share with people how they can start
Yeah.
making baby steps to get
Yeah,
their
that is so good. I had a conversation recently with another friend of mine that I interviewed here who's a cancer survivor. And just the similarities that I see is that our bodies are constantly speaking to us, they're constantly giving us signals, but we learn to live with things and we think it's like normal, like people who live with migraines all the time or, whatever it may be. It's like they learn to live with these things and they don't realize, no, your body is actually screaming at you. It's sending you signals because there's a root cause. There's something deeper that you need to uncover before chronic illness comes knocking at your door. Like that's just the first, sign. So I'm going to close these doors because I forgot about that. There we go. And now I would love for you to share with us, like, what led you into this health journey? The reason that you decided to pursue health. Is this something like, did you grow up already loving healthy living, clean living? Was this something you grew up in your household? Some kids grow up with crunchy mamas, but others don't. So it's like, what ultimately sent you down this path of healthy living?
Well, I love that you start with this question, um, because absolutely not. Um, in fact, whenever I was role playing through my mind, we think in pictures, and I'm very, very photographic, and so a lot of my memories are played off of senses and smells and things like that, and that's just how my brain has cataloged a lot of my memory. And I remember whenever I was pregnant with Tegan, my first baby, and I remember the doctors asking me, are you taking your prenatals? And I was like, nope, I get all of my nutrition from food. Yeah, right. Like yeah, right. I absolutely did not. And then looking back at my diet and how I treated my body, um, of course I didn't know any better, or maybe I kind of did because we know fast food is terrible and you probably shouldn't do that so often. And but there was all of these excuses and honestly so much brainwashing from all of the media and all of the advertisements and all the billboards, and then our lifestyle with just needing to be on the run and grab something quickly. I grew up with our meals. My mom would stretch $20 to feed five of us. And so we ate what was put in front of us, and we were so thankful for it. But a lot of that may have been like, canned green beans. I remember one time, I was so hungry I ate an entire can of corn. I have that memory. But with that being said, I know that I'm kind of scattered a little bit. I had no grid for what a healthy lifestyle through nutrition looked like. Um, all I knew was the industry of potential weight loss because I had family members that struggled with weight, and that was always important to them. So I associated health with healthy weight, basically,
Right.
which I didn't even know what the definition of that was until I went into school, and I was like, man, this is so backwards. We got this all wrong.
Yeah.
Um, but I literally used to be the girl that would make fun of the crunchy people. I mean, 10 years ago, gluten free and things like that was just being introduced, and I'm like, I don't even know what that word means. You know what I mean? And
Right.
so I was like, anything that I don't understand as a young person, I'm going to criticize it, and I'm just going to simply make fun of it. And what a disaster. I mean, the next thing you know, I'm going through my own health crisis. And now I have compassion for the people that I was once, poking fun at,
Yes.
right? And not poking fun publicly, but, just in my own sense of
Yes.
humor. So yeah, no grid for health. It was trauma that sent me down that journey. Yeah.
Wow. Yes. So, I feel like there's some similarities. I grew up eating corn out of a can as well. I grew up mostly on rice and beans, but I remember like eating the bologna sandwiches, like literally bologna with
Fried
the
bologna, babe.
yes,
Fried
like with
bologna.
American craft cheese, which isn't even real cheese, and boxed cereals and all these horrible things that little did I know that they were wrecking my health. And I obviously my of course I have a crazy family background with multiple families, but this particular family, we were very poor and they were doing their best just to put food on the table. And had my father known that that was harmful to us, maybe he would have made some different choices. I don't know. But nonetheless, that's just how it was. So I grew up kind of like you, eating things out of a can and just terrible quality food. And so, yeah, I didn't know anything different. And just like you, when I started getting into health, if you will, I was mostly just following trends and following fads, like whatever the latest thing that diet culture was telling us to do, that's what I was doing, jumping on that bandwagon. And then when that bandwagon would lose its wheels, you jump on the next bandwagon. So kind of that lifestyle until chronic illness came and knocked at my door as well. So really, that's kind of what I want you to dive into a little bit of your experience with chronic illness.
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, it's been 5 years. March 1st was the day that my life completely changed. I'm thankful for it now, but in that season, there was horrendous isolation. There was so much that I didn't understand. My family would look at me and they're like, well, she looks well, but internally, I was literally even speaking death over myself. And I hate that. I still,
Hmm.
regret that. But the truth is, that is how so internally tormented I was at that time, being so, so, so sick. And I think that sometimes we can self implode. There's only so much that we can take as human beings, from the soul level, spiritual level, and the physical level. And all of those were taking massive hits. And so my story is basically this. Um, Christian and I, we went into the hospital to have our fourth baby. Our son Zarek was coming into the world. It was a planned C-section. It was our third C-section, so I know how this rodeo goes. I'm like, let's take a selfie because at 8:08 we're having a baby. And so we did. We took a selfie. We went into the room. I got on the operating table and I'm like, okay, Lord, this is it. This is our family. Like, it's going to be a complete family. And then all of a sudden, they're cutting me open. They're playing this awful music. By the way, music is so powerful. Goodness gracious. And they were
Yes.
causing anxiety literally on the table with what they were playing in the room. And so they begin to do surgery, and all of a sudden, the most prestige OB, been there for 35 years, and he's over everybody, all of the OBs and everything. And he says, "Oh, shoot." But he uses stronger language than that. And at that moment, I knew that something was wrong. And I looked at Christian and I said, "What's wrong? What is happening? Like, stand up and look over that blue cloth, brother, and like see what is going on." Well, Christian didn't move. He just stayed where he was. And I could just feel the anxiety begin to come over my body. I'm trying to calm myself down, and they're shooting me with more and more drugs through my spinal block to try to get me to come down. And basically, what happened was Zarek was he had repositioned himself in my body, and he was in a transverse position. So basically, like a cradle type of position, his whole body was facing up towards me. And whenever they went into the C to do the C-section, and he grabbed, he could not get Zarek out. He couldn't grab his leg, he couldn't grab his bottom, couldn't grab his neck. There was no way for him to get him out of my body. And so the doctor that was assisting him had to get on top of my body and do an external version. So he was basically pushing like this and doing everything that he could to get Zarek to turn so that the doctor could pull him out. So about 45 minutes later, I felt like I had been physically gang beaten. It was the most horrendous feeling. I would never wish it on a single person. Obviously, I felt the tremendous pressure. There was not a lot of pain that I was feeling because of the all the
Right.
medicine,
Mhm.
but I couldn't hold him. He was born, and they're like, "Oh, your baby is so healthy," and I'm like, I'm drugged out. I'm like, I can't even physically smile right now, because I'm in just so much discomfort and delusional from these drugs. Um, so fast forward, he's healthy. I knew something was wrong at that moment. They sewed me back up. They put me in triage. I fall asleep. I start to nurse the baby after that. And then I begin to eat myself because they're like, okay, well, now you can eat. So I'm like, give me that Chick-fil-A sandwich. That's the only thing that I wanted after this child was being born. I'm
Right.
telling you what, within my first 10 minutes of biting into that sandwich, I was in hot poker that you would singe like the mark of a cow, to give them that label. Within my stomach, I was in extreme agony. Like, where are the words, the vocabulary words to
Mhm.
express the amount of pain that I was feeling? And I couldn't communicate it to anybody in the room. It just was not flowing out. I couldn't find the words. The brain fog was absolutely insane. I'm like, what in the world has happened?
Mhm.
Um, and I was like, maybe it's just a fluke. So then I continued to eat, the next day and then the next day, and it's the same exact thing, girl. I mean, the fatigue, you would have thought that
Wow.
my face was when somebody like their face droops and they go
Uh-huh.
like paralyzed in the side of their my that's what was happening to my eyes. My eyes began to fall down and the fatigue was overwhelming. Even pain in my back shoulders, they would feel like I was scrunching over like this, and I couldn't get anything functioning normal in my body. And
Wow.
I had people saying to me like, "Oh, well, it's just gas and you're just in recovery." I bought into all of that, but I knew that something was wrong. And we moved, to about 5 months. You know what I mean? 5 months of going to the doctors,
Mhm.
going to integrative medicine, going to get HIDA scans and ultrasounds and endoscopies and colonoscopies and SIBO
Wow.
breath test. I was literally asking these doctors in the conventional medicine stream to look at natural remedies that I was learning through internet research because I was desperate to try to find out what the heck was going on in my body. And I was communicating things to them that they had no clue what I was talking
Mhm.
about. None.
So what kind of symptoms were you experiencing? You're talking about the chronic fatigue, and then you're every time you ate, you had pain and discomfort.
Yes, but it was not pain in the sense of um, when you try to describe the pain, I felt like I was being repeatedly stabbed over and over again.
Mhm.
It wasn't like having heartburn, uh,
Right.
like that. It was like a physical pain of somebody actually hurting me.
Mhm.
Um, and I remember one day, Christian and I we decided we were going to paint the girls' room for them. And so I woke up that day and I'm like, oh my gosh, I woke up and I'm not in pain. It was like Groundhog's Day every single day. Who has seen that movie? You know, I felt like the day was horrendous, and then I would go to bed and it was like it never happened because as long as I wasn't eating, I was
Mhm.
not feeling the pain. I was feeling the
Mhm.
fatigue. I was feeling the lack of, nutrition in my body. So anyways, I've got a kid screaming. I'm really sorry if you hear that
You're
from the
fine.
back.
No. Mama,
He's
mama.
Yeah, exactly. He's being super silly right now. I can tell something's up. So, anyway, the fatigue was horrendous. I would lay in bed and I would nurse the baby just because it was the only thing that I felt like I could contribute washing the same laundry over and over again. And I remember standing at the kitchen sink with the symptoms of total and complete brain fog, not being able to concentrate. Am I actually doing the dishes right now? Did I already wash this dish? My eyes were crossing.
Wow.
I couldn't focus. I couldn't engage in conversation and actually comprehend. That's when it got scary. That's when it got very scary for me because I went to the hospital to consolidate all of the bills that I
Hmm.
was, acquiring from all of these appointments. And I remember now that I went to the receptionist and I asked her how to get down to bill pay or whatever, that was. And she said, "Well, you're going to come down this hallway, take a left, and immediately on your left, you will talk to the lady at the registration." Lily, I I'm gonna have to tell these children to stop screaming. I can't even believe this.
They're not terribly loud through here. I can
Can you?
hear them vaguely.
Okay.
You hear them more than I do.
All right, I'll text Christian. Um,
Text daddy. You're on daddy duty. Please tell him to stop screaming. The fun thing about my viewers in my group is many of them are moms, so they totally get it. In fact, this is refreshing to them. They're like, oh, it's not just me. Praise God.
no, it's not like, don't worry, it's just an interview. You don't need it quiet.
No, it's real life. It's what
Not
this
at
is.
all. Goodness, exactly. We all do this at home. They are homeschooled and they're excited that, school's coming to an end. Um, so anyway, I remember that happening and I was looking at the lady at that the first desk through those doors, and I just began to bawl my eyes out because I was like, I'm losing my absolute mind. I cannot actually verbally process what instructions that she just gave me. And a lady in the HR department literally saw my breakdown and pulled me into her office. I'm just telling you, she was such a messenger of the Lord. She was right on time to help me be able to pull some strength that I had inside of me, encouraged me with a good word, and then helped me get down to registration by walking me down there. Okay.
Mhm.
So it just, that one moment changed everything for me, and I'm so thankful for her. But the physical pain um was just more than I could bear. It was awful. It radiated through my entire body, my joints, um
Wow.
everything. I wish that I could communicate
Hmm.
all of it, but
So when did you turn the corner towards breakthrough?
okay. This is one of my favorite things because now that I'm in the industry of helping other people and we literally communicate online, I'm like, thank you, Mark Zuckerberg, for allowing a natural doctor to run a Facebook ad and to target me based on what
Oh,
I was
wow.
so desperately searching for on the internet. So now, as an internet marketer myself, I'm understanding exactly how I was targeted. And I'm like, thank you, Jesus, for technology, because I couldn't go out on my own and get help through my local community. There were no resources. The internet tracked me down. That's the
Mhm.
only time that I'm thankful for Big Brother, by the way.
That's
Uh,
right.
it's the only time. But I literally saw an ad from a doctor in natural health, and he started to describe my symptoms, and I'm like, yes, you're talking to me. Oh my goodness, he knows exact. And then he started testimonies about his mother and how they had helped his mother through a cancer journey,
Mhm.
and which she had already been down a battle before, one time before. And so all of these things, the storytelling, and I was hearing it, I was feeling it, and I was like, do I have a little bit of hope by this person sharing this information with me? And I was like, eh, this has to be what's happening. So I took like this little quiz that he had, and I
Mhm.
was like, oh my gosh, I might have leaky gut. I didn't know what that meant. You know what I mean? and certainly had gone to multiple doctors that said, you know, you have IBS, you have this, you have that. And they're like, oh, but we also can't find anything. Your anatomy looks great. Let's give you some type of pain pills
Yeah.
that actually are more of like sleeping pills. Um,
Yes, let's just slap band-aids on the problem, not really treating the problem, and the side effects are worse than, so yeah.
exactly. And I was like, man, you guys really don't get it. It was for the very first time there was an awakening that was happening inside of me, Lily, um, that was like, my doctor is not God. What he says does not go.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when my good friend Amber, um, she worked at Nutrition Smart. She'd been there for 7 years, and she's like, Tiffany, you might, yeah, you might have leaky gut. Why don't you come and get a blood cell analysis at the studio, or not at the studio, at the store? And I was like, I'm desperate at this point. They've done so much blood work on me, and she's like, no, it is not the same thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
not. So I went and I had that done. My eyes were so opened by seeing my blood dance around on a screen. They saw mold in there. They saw heavy metal toxins that looked like Viking spikes on there.
Mm-hmm.
The inflammation was just, all my inflammation markers were through the roof,
Through the roof, yeah.
through the
Mhm.
roof. And I didn't even know what stinking inflammation was. My mom's inflammation was like, I need a water pill to help me, you know, but she didn't know. I didn't know. We now know, you know,
Mhm.
inflammation is your body screaming at you. It's literally, inflammation is there. It's supposed to be very temporary. It's there
Mhm.
to help heal. That's it. And then
Right.
it's supposed to get out. And
Yeah, it's
we
not supposed to remain. If it remains, we got problems. Mhm.
Yes, tissue damage begins to
Mhm.
happen. Your body
Mhm.
starts to really begin to attack itself and break itself down. And your body is only meant to help itself recover. So if it's beginning to attack itself, it's thinking that something is wrong.
Mhm.
And we need to pay attention to all of those signals. But anyways, my point in sharing all of this is that I took that report back to my specialist who was helping me try to get through all of these, whatever these gut issues were. And he looked right at me after I put that 3-page report down. Bam, I slammed it down on the little desk that he had in there. I was so upset at that point. I had all 4 kids with me, and he's like, "This is why your stomach hurts, is because you're stressed. You're a new mom, and you've got all these kids. Maybe we should give you some antidepressants." And I was like, "You look at this paper, bro. Look at what this
What people
says."
don't know about Tiffany is that Tiffany can go from Jesus to gangster like that. That's right. But hey, you're suffering. It's like,
Yes,
I need answers.
I
I
need
need
answers.
solutions.
We have I was so desperate, and he looked at it and he goes, "Well, I guess you do have leaky gut." And I was like, "Okay, can you tell me how to fix it?" He had no clue. He had no clue how to help me in my journey.
Wow.
And he was on to the next patient, girl. And he tried to get me to sign out. And I told the nurses, I started bawling my eyes out. And they're like, you better not leave. Go back into that room. You've got to get help. And that was the end of my relationship with that specific doctor. And then, bless the Lord, thank you for conventional medicine. I'm so thankful for what we have in the Western culture. We have the absolute best technology in the entire world. We are the leaders of, medical innovation. But there's a lack of personal responsibility that we have given away. We have given
Yeah.
away our health, um, and and that's what we need to redeem. And I think that that's what you and I and so many other advocates are trying to do, is just give people their power back so that we're not doing sick medicine anymore.
Yep.
Use triage when there's an absolute emergency. You know what I mean? But take
Absolutely.
responsibility for your health and just admit that you've been stinking lied to for a very long time. You've been manipulated. Your dollars have been fought for by big box brands.
Mhm. Big
And
pharma.
Here,
It's
here,
true. Yes. And for so long, we have just blindly trusted. And, it's not to say that our medical professionals don't care about us. They do, but they only know Western conventional medicine. That's really it, unless they ever have something happen. I mean, I was blessed that my OBGYN, because his granddaughters had celiac disease, that was the only reason he was well versed in nutrition. That's the
yes.
only reason. Yes. Had it not been for that, he could not have guided me in the right direction when I began my health journey. So, and that's, another story for another day. But yeah, absolutely. So then you ended up with a naturopathic, or how did you end up, restoring health back to your body?
I actually never had the opportunity to walk through recovery with somebody that was certified in functional medicine or anything like that. It was one of those things where the Lord just guided the steps
That's great.
and sent the information to me, and then I just began to walk it out, and that would lead to the next thing, and
Mhm.
and then the next thing, and then the next thing. And
Yeah.
so I'm thankful for that journey of recovery. But for me, the biggest thing was where my biggest breakthrough was the elimination diet, which honestly is very scary and traumatic for a lot of people because you feel like you're losing everything. You sit here and you say, "Well, what can I eat? There's 28,000 things at the grocery store, and now I'm down to 10."
Hmm.
There's a piece of you that begins to like die because you're like, I can't do what everybody else does. I can't eat what everybody else does." And you internally start to just implode a little bit. But what God did was He actually reintroduced me to what He had given me in the first place. And He's like, why don't we just go back and we do this the simple way? And we work with foods that have come from the ground and the things that I have actually produced through the seeds. You know what I mean? Which then led to less like stress. Like how did all of a sudden I realize that I need less stress in my life? And then how did I realize that whenever I tried to introduce myself to less stress, that all of a sudden I was enjoying the sunlight more? I'll never ever forget that the day that I felt a glimpse of wellness again, I actually saw we were at a pool and I saw the water begin to dance and I saw the light actually flickering off of that water, and I heard my children laugh for the first time in months.
That's
It
so
was
powerful.
seeing it
Hmm.
and hearing it. And so when I say healing has a feeling,
Yes.
it's literally all of it. It's all of it. It's feeling your body relax. That's a sensation.
Hmm.
It's me recognizing, oh my gosh, I feel different than I did 6
Hmm.
months ago. Oh, I'm not touching a hot stove anymore and burning my hand over and over and over again because I keep eating foods that are absolutely killing me. And I'm feeling well again and I'm feeling energy again. God's given us all of those things. Pain is an indicator that something is wrong.
Hmm.
Well, when I feel energy and I feel well and I feel like I can focus, all of those things are revealing the goodness of God and the temple that we have been
Wow.
given to steward. You know what I mean? He gave us
Absolutely.
all these
Yes.
senses for a reason.
Yeah, and just I love how you define healing as a feeling, because when you begin to feel well again, not only do you notice it and the sensations, you don't have that pain, you don't have the chronic fatigue, you don't have the fog, you don't have all these things, but it also comes with the sensation of joy. All of a sudden, you can smile, and it's like, oh my God, I'm actually legitimately joyful right now. I'm not anxious, I'm not depressed, I'm not, whatever it is. And that's an incredible feeling. And on the flip side, there's a feeling to sickness. And here's kind of where I want us to dive into a little bit of the nitty gritty, because our bodies, like I said before, are always speaking to us. They're always shooting off signals. We just oftentimes ignore them. We chalk them up to different things. Oh, I'm having heartburn. Go pop some Toms. Oh, I'm having, whatever it is. I have a headache. Go take an ibuprofen. We're always finding the band-aid solution, that quick fix, fast food solution to a problem that is that little problem, if you will, is actually your body blaring there's something else going on, especially when that headache isn't a one time in a blue moon, like you just you binge ate something you shouldn't have, right? No, it's like you're consistently having headaches. Why? You don't have to learn to live with these things as if it's normal. I tell people all the time, because my specialty is hormone health. It's like, did you know that PMS is not normal? People are like, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, you're not supposed to be crabby, and you're not supposed to have tender breasts. You're not supposed to, have cramps. You're not supposed to, all the things that come in the label of PMS, that's not normal. You're not supposed to experience any of it, but we all learn to believe that these things are normal. So what are some of the things, however many you want to share, maybe 3 or 5 things, what are some signs, some signals that the body gives off that we need to pay attention to?
Okay, so I'm gonna relate really to my journey, because there's obviously so many things that and each individual is very different. So our symptoms are different, the things that we experience are different. So some of the things that are common is, like we talked about earlier, inflammation is a huge, huge, huge signal. And a lot of times that may look like water retention. So you might feel some pain in your hands. You might feel it in your joints. You may see in your feet that you're swollen. And I'm gonna tell these kids again.
No, you're fine. It's so true. It's like that puffiness.
Yes.
Anytime you have that swelling feeling, you can see it, you can feel it, and you can see it.
You can see it, you can feel it, you can feel the tightness.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of times, like, you may even see and experience redness. So for me, whenever I would eat something, um, I would get red patches all the way down the back sides of my arms right here. And it wouldn't look like a raised rash. It looked like it
Hmm.
was literally underneath the skin.
Wow.
My skin color would change. I would
Mhm.
see very deep, hot red patches in my cheeks. And so it would present itself also as rosacea, as a
Mhm.
lot of people may know it. And so that is certainly one thing. You may break out with rashes. In your skin, which is typically something is passing through the intestinal lining and it's getting out into the bloodstream. It's not supposed to be there, and your body is giving you a signal that it's trying to get rid of something that is harmful to you, and it's exposing it through your skin. And so for me, inflammation is the biggest thing. And also when you're feeling pain, if you're feeling pain, that's kind of like if you have like a yardstick, like a measuring stick. um Pain is usually one of the things that you feel last,
Mhm.
not first. Pain is like we're getting to this thing to where it's like now your body is screaming, "Hey, I'm hurt here. Please help me." It's an
Mhm.
indicator that something needs to change. So typically, what happens is when people begin to heal, the first thing to go away is the thing that was the last thing,
That's
which is
amazing.
very interesting. And so the
Mhm.
pain is usually the first thing to go, and then that's where we get.
Right, we get complacent. We're like, oh, we're okay now.
That's that's exactly right. As soon as that pain goes away, all of a sudden somebody thinks, "Oh, I'm fine." It's kind of like whenever you go to the doctor because you were sick and then you got antibiotics and then in a few days you start feeling better. There's still all this work over here that has to be done,
Yeah.
right? So we just need to educate ourselves. But I can tell you that, like, for me, when the inflammation went away, I lost an entire shoe size. I used to be a size 9, and I didn't realize that that wasn't the length of my foot. That was because I had
Wow.
so much inflammation. So I wear a size 8 now.
Wow. that's a significant inflammation issue there when you have to go
Yes.
up a shoe size.
Huge.
Wow, that's incredible. Yes, inflammation, pain. I know we'd even add to that fatigue. Like we're not supposed to live with fog and fatigue. That's not normal. You shouldn't have to down coffee all day or monsters, which are terrible. Please don't do that. If you need clean energy, give your girl a holler. I'll hook you up with a rice. But
Yes, I've
anyways,
got that right
yes.
right here, right here in my cup. We're not going to go without that, especially around two.
Exactly. So, okay, so what can people do to be on the offense versus the defense when it comes to improving, when it comes to their health?
Well, okay. So the more that I learn, the more that I feel like, oh man, we could literally study health for a lifetime and we're just going to be dabbling into it. So I don't want to ever overwhelm anybody because every small step is closer to where we were 5 minutes ago or
Mhm.
yesterday or 10 years ago. Um, but I think the biggest thing that we need to be aware of is simply that we need awareness that if you are going to be well and have a long and healthy life, and we're talking practicals here. I'm not talking about your spiritual health or anything like that. I'm
Sure.
talking about the things that we can put our hands to with our food and being intentional with what God has given us in the earth. We
Mhm.
need to be aware that our food system that we currently have is very, very, very broken. And that there's a lot of, profit driven purposes. And there's also preservations of food that's really important because they need, shelf life. And that our health is at the expense of those things.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to share this statistic so that everybody can see where we are as Americans.
Okay.
In 2016, the US life expectancy went down for the very first time since 1993.
Wow.
Okay. So expectancy, I think, in America was like 73, somewheres around there. And I can follow up with the accurate number. I'll send that to you, and then we can let everybody know about that. I didn't write that down in my notes, but that is disturbing because our life expectancy with the amount of technology that we have should not be decreasing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it should be going up.
It
Mhm.
should absolutely be going up, and the opposite from that is happening to us. And also, as being leaders in the conglomerates of the medical industry, and being this superpower, um, why are we ranked the 37th in the entire world for life expectancy? Why are these other
Wow.
countries so far advanced where they're living into, their 80s, 85? I mean, and that's just the average, you know what I mean? Why is
Mhm.
that happening when we have access to what we have access to? And so what can we actually control right now, this very minute, without even spending a dime? You know what I mean? What has God given us? Everything that He gave us is good. So
Mhm.
why don't we go back to basics, go back to the scriptures and see what God has given us
Mhm.
and actually begin to meddle in that? And
Mhm.
so some things that we have absolute control over is um he gave us water. Well, water is being manipulated now. Water's, I mean, do you live in the city? If you live in the city, they're putting fluoride in it. There's chlorine, there's all these things. So
Yeah,
what
all
is
kinds of
one
things.
simple step?
Mhm.
One simple step is, and I'm not telling you guys to go and get reverse osmosis and put a big tank underneath your sink. I'm not telling you to go and buy, you know, a huge filtration system, but what's something that you can do to take steps? You can get a
Mhm.
small little Brita filter,
Mhm.
right? You can get, that's step one, is start being aware that water was given to you for hydration of the body, you have to have it. Your brain has to have it. You need healthy fats for your brain. This fat trend of like no fats in our foods is killing people. You know what I mean? We have to have those things. Um, we need dense, nutritious food. Guys, I couldn't even eat a salad. Even the things that were healthy for me, my body was still rejecting it. That is a problem.
That's a big problem. Yeah,
That's a
absolutely.
problem. We have to assimilate what we eat. You have access to sunlight. God has given you the sunlight for you to be able to process and synthesize, vitamin D. Our body needs these things in order for us. It's every single thing is a building block, and they all work synergistically
And
together.
that's free. Vitamin D is free. Go spend 20 minutes out in the sun. Maybe not during peak hours, guys. Don't be
Right.
silly, but right. But get natural vitamin D from the sun. The sun is our friend, so practice safe sun exposure.
Yeah, the sun
That's
is your
better.
friend. It helps with your hormone regulation. These are things that God has given us. He's made no mistakes. You know what I mean? He's given us the ability to rest. We need to actually shut down, at night. Around 9 o'clock is when your body is like, hey, I'm gonna go for my first push of healing and recovery. And
Yeah,
most of us are feeling that big burst of energy, like, oh, I got my second wind and it's 11 o'clock at night. Yeah, that's whenever your body was saying, hey, I was going into recovery mode for you at that time. We need at least 8 hours of sleep. You can control this. Exercise. That's a basic cornerstone of health. How many of us do it? I simply don't. I just don't in this season of my life right now. I did 13 years ago before I had children. But my mindset was wrong about exercise. Now, my mindset about exercise is I just simply need to be moving my body, even for a few minutes a day, not because I want a nice little hind end or I want to be chiseled, but because in order for me to detoxify my body and move my lymphatic system, which is incredibly vital, important for your health, it depends on movement. You have to
absolutely.
move in order to squeeze that fluid out of your body. It's not like your heart. Your
Hmm.
heart pumps, your lymphatic system does not. It's dependent on your movement. So all of these cornerstones, they are working together, and you can literally control them by decision making and just simply being aware. That's not talking about supplements. That's not talking about
Yeah.
diet and nutrition and the right diet this and the right diet that. This is what you can have control over right now.
Right
This is
now. And yes. And so what I'm hearing you say really is some of the shifts that people can start making today. And again, we don't want to overwhelm you guys. So as you're listening, you don't have to implement all these things at one time. Some of you are very like all in or all out. So if you're all in, by all means, go all in. But if you need gradually getting in there, start by investing into a filtration system, even if it's just a little Brita filter for your water. But clean water is going to do wonders for your health. I will tell you this: when I switched over from bottled water to I have a Berkey. I couldn't afford a $4,000 house filtration system, but I could afford a Black Friday deal on the Berkey. No, then that making that one switch shifted my cycles, my monthly cycles in like a month or 2 months. I went back to barely having any PMS symptoms again, which is incredible, just from water, just that one change, getting away from plastics, etc. And so I hear water, I hear eat real food, right? I hear move your body and detox your brain right here, release stress, remove stress from your life. And so I think there was one more that I might have missed in there, but those key cornerstones right there are super important. And I love the lymphatic system. It's very fascinating to me how the body functions together. Oh, vitamin D was the fifth one. So go outside, get some sunshine. Honestly, you want your body to absorb the vitamin D. So don't go outside for those 20 minutes with sunscreen on. That defeats the purpose. Okay, go out with no sunscreen and absorb the rays from the sun for a good 15-20 minutes to get your dose of daily vitamin D. And yeah, so those would be the 5 things that I'm hearing you say. Would that be correct?
That would be correct. And also just reiterating, get a good night's sleep. If
Yeah.
you're dis if you have interrupted sleep, then we need to look at those things. And like Lily's saying, Don't be overwhelmed with this. Imagine this, to help summarize just these cornerstones, Lily. I want your people to understand this. If you were to, let's just say, change breakfast, maybe right now you eat like toast and but something like that, okay? But let's just take bread out of the occasion and processed breads the way that it's currently given to us from the marketplace, okay? It's not good for us the way that we currently get it from the marketplace. So let's say that we just simply replace that with a green apple. Not a big smoothie, not all of these things that we should do because they're good for us. But let's just say, for the simplicity's sake, one green apple. You have literally changed your diet by 33%. That is
Wow.
huge numbers.
Yeah,
Huge.
that's not 5%. That's 33%. That is a massive change. Wow.
So just that one thing, to assimilate the nutrients that come from that one apple, you've made that much of a significant step through one of these
Yeah.
cornerstones. Just one.
Wow. You know what's interesting about that though is that in the culture that we live in, we have been taught to think that an apple is bad for me because it has sugar. But I can eat a loaf of bread from the store and that's okay, even though it has enriched, all these synthetic vitamins, it's got soybean oil, rancid oils, all these different things. We're okay eating that, but we're so concerned about the apple. There is something wrong with the system here in America when we've been brainwashed to believe. It's like the apple actually has every component that your body needs to break down that so-called sugar that you're so afraid of, right? So you need to eat the skin and the flesh and just the whole thing. Your body knows what to do with it. It recognizes it as real food and uses all of the nutrients for your good.
Yes.
So that's so powerful. And then with sleep, I just want people to know that when you sleep, when we're asleep at night, that's when your body heals. So when you don't sleep, you don't allow your body to heal. And one of the things that Chris Ward told us, at the health conference that we were at last fall is that, if you eat the same meal, let's say in the morning as you would at night, like, does it matter when I eat this big meal? Yes, it does, because the way our bodies are designed and our circadian rhythm is designed is that whatever you eat in the morning, your body's going to use for energy that day. But if you're eating that same meal, let's say you skipped, breakfast or whatever, and now you're famished at nighttime after you get home from work and you have that big meal before bedtime, well, that's when your body's natural process is supposed to go into rest mode and begin to heal, do the healing work of your body. But you just gave it this massive meal. So now your body's having to use the time that it would healing your body to now digest this thing over here and process it and break it down. And now you're not sleeping well as a result either. So it's affecting your sleep. So anyway, get your sleep, people. So there you go. Well, awesome, Tiffany. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I was thinking with your journey with leaky gut syndrome, that actually is so widespread, and most Americans struggle with this and they don't even know it because they've learned to walk around with the things you were living with. Maybe not to that degree, which is why they haven't yet gone to the doctor, or maybe they've gone to the doctor, but they've been given, well, take this, we'll take that. And so if you're that person that you're like, no, something's wrong, right? And your doctor's like, well, take this pill and take that pill and do this or do that. It's time for you to seek other help. Okay. It's time for you to pursue people like Tiffany. She went to school. Actually, she just recently completed her certification as a natural health professional so that she can help people, that are walking down this journey to take back power in their health. And so that's what I'm passionate about, is empowering people to take back power in their health. This is your responsibility. No one else is going to do it for you. And it doesn't have to be overwhelming, guys. Just one step at a time makes big impacts. 33%. Just switching that toast to that apple, okay? 33% change in one day. That's incredible. Is there anything else that you want to share with us as we close?
I think that you pretty much nailed it. I mean, I can literally fire hose people because of what I've walked through for the last 5 years. But I can tell you this, that if if you feel unwell, and if you're really sick of feeling the way that maybe you do. Now, my person that I talk to is the desperate. I talk to the absolute desperate because my story rings desperate. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So I'm not speaking to the desperate. I know that you have a very broad, group of
Mhm.
people um in the room here, but if you're feeling off at all, I beg you to pay attention to it and don't blow it off. Don't blow it off. And also know that whenever you do go and get help or see a doctor, um, that we absolutely love our doctors, and the doctors are coming around more than ever before when it comes to um, co-laboring with natural health professionals. They're seeing the gap. They are seeing the gap. Our doctors don't have all the answers, and they're seeking health professionals like ourselves to be able to work side by side with them. And so I'm simply just saying, do your research and don't just depend on the doctor alone. Trust your gut.
Yeah.
Trust the feelings of something is off and do something about it. And if you don't know where to start, I'm telling you, you're in the right room. Reach out to Lyly Ledbetter. She knows what she's doing. She has helped, her own body for years and years and years. Um, and anything that you need will be here for you. Our heart is not to push supplements down your throat. Supplements are all temporary. There's some things that are very important for the remainder of your life that you can use, but the goal is wellness in all things, whether that's spiritual, whether it's nutrition, whether it's your emotions, which control a lot of sickness
Mhm.
as well and cause a lot of sickness. And so I'm repeating everything that you've basically already said, Lyly, but I'm just putting another stamp on it
Mhm.
that you can live in fullness. You can live in joy. You can live in peace. And you can have energy and vitality, and you can actually enjoy the life that we were gifted with. And we don't
Mhm.
need to walk around being sick and being zombies and being miserable. Um,
Amen.
so
That is so, so good. And everybody that's in my group is aware that I take a very holistic approach. I don't mean holistic like with an H, but holistic, right? It's body, soul, and spirit. We need all of the parts of our being to be well. God wants us to prosper. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you so much sharing your wisdom, your personal experience, all your knowledge with us. And everybody, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. So feel free to reach out to me directly and I will get those questions answered for you. Thank you all so, so much for joining us, and we'll see you later.